All right. Good morning, friends, and very warm welcome to this panel discussion on RIA and MFD regulations, the impact and the way forward. Can I have good morning from all of you to our panelists and welcome them if you're able to hear us and see all the panelists. All right. Everybody on the chat box, if you can put it, if you can select panelists and attendees. You can always say good morning to each other also apart from the panelists. Come on. Let's bring some energy into the room. All right, Nagaraju, Amit, Supriya, good morning. Vidya, Prashant, hi. Manish, Deepesh, Nishit, Ujjal, hi, good morning. Very good. Vivek Patak, Bhavesh, Abhishek, Anand, Dilip Kulkarni, Swaroop. All right, Lovaii, Sailesh, Shilpi. Wow. Wow. Okay, all right. Good. So this is going to be a panel, a special panel, which we have put together, based on the, situation which has come about in our industry and space. And we are really very thankful to, Dhruv, Mehta, Lovaii, Sandeep Parekh, and Amit for having accepted. A very warm welcome to each one of you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Sadiq.
All right. So this is really very special. Okay. I think the chairman of ARIA, the chairman of FIFA, a lawyer who is on the MF Advisory Council of SEBI, as well as being a former executive director of SEBI, and also, specialist in financial laws, Sandeep Parekh, the minds which have come together for this panel and being moderated by none other than our own Amit Trivedi. Okay. So this is going to be like really very special panel. Before I hand it over to Amit and get this open up this panel, I wanted to share some quick thoughts with you all, maybe for 2-3 minutes, and then hand it over to Amit and others. Okay. So, friends, today, as I keep speaking to a lot of financial advisors day in day out. That's my job. And whenever I call up or I get calls, क्या कर रहे हो, तो बोलते हैं आजकल सेबी ने हमको काम पे लगाया तो वो काम कर रहे हैं. Okay, so that's the kind of mood that the industry is on. And I want to share a couple of quick thoughts. What I'm observing is that RIs are concerned about the compliance part or the higher qualification part. So RIs are also concerned on one hand side, and also the MFDs are concerned about the nomenclature part, what they can do, what they cannot do. So everybody is concerned as such, with some of the other things. And I think it's time to overcome those concerns with some clarity, which we are going to gain from this panel discussion, and just get down to our work. Our core work is to, have integrity in what we are doing and deliver, value to our clients, and make sure that, our core proposition, that is to help our clients get results, and manage their money better than what they were doing before is our core job. And we need to stick to that, be focused on that. Right. So on the other hand, I also wanted to share that, we have seen that regulations have been evolving. Okay. Last 5 years, 10 years, 12 years since the entry load. Many of us know entry load as starting point, right? And it will evolve. Okay, whatever has happened, and it will keep evolving. So we should not be under the assumption that everything is going to remain static. This is it, and this is what we are. So things will keep changing. Let's accept that as a reality and be open to it. Third is, I just made a quick calculation. There are 7.2 crore families in India, okay, who are earning more than 5 lakh rupees per annum, and everybody needs and deserves to have an access to a good financial intermediaries. Okay. And I think we have just scratched the surface, whether it is in the form of RIA or MFD or whatever it is. There is going to be requirement for financial intermediation, financial coach, advisor, whatever you want to call it, but people need people to handle them. So let's be fully cognizant about the fact that people need, somebody to guide them. All right. So having said that, I also request that, there has to be a kind of, it has become like this versus that, but I think there is a third way. of looking at this whole entire stuff, which I'll talk to you about at the end of this panel. So hold on for this. So, and last but not the least, whenever we, next 1 minute, I just want to share before we get onto the session. People are like really काफी डरने लगे हैं हम लोग चीजों को लेकर, okay? And I just wanted to remind you all, I think it's the age when we really have to, and we are all entrepreneurs also, right? We need to take, whether we are RIA or MFD, we have to take some guts. We need to have some guts and believe in that saying that, डर के आगे जीत है. So if we start fearing about what's happening, we will be finished. It's not really about RIA and MFD today. It's all about individual, who we are and what we believe in and what's our mindset and how we are going to respond to the events that are happening around us. Okay. So is this all making sense? If it's making sense, just type in the chat box, yes. We'll listen to this and we'll listen to all our panelists with the right mindset. Just type mindset in the chat box. Everybody, let me get that. I want to set the mindset right before we move on to what we are going to hear from all the panelists. Mindset, everybody, mindset on the chat. Okay. All right. Okay. So with that, friends, thank you so much. It's all about mindset and how we are going to respond to the event. It's not about the event in itself. It's how we are going to respond to the events which are happening around us. With that, friends, it's my privilege and honor to welcome our panelists for the day. I want to welcome first time who has come on. It's the second time he had come, I think some 4 or 5 years back on the same topic again on the RIA regulation. Mr. Sandeep Parekh. Hello, sir. Welcome. And just to share a quick intro about him, Mr. Sandeep Parekh is the founder of Finsec Law Advisors, a financial sector firm based in Mumbai. One of the few, I think mostly the only firm which actually specializes in financial regulations in India. So we have him here. Sandeep is qualified to practice law in India and New York. He worked as an executive director at SEBI, India's securities regulator, where he headed the legal affairs and enforcement departments and has been a faculty at IIM Ahmedabad. He is a former chairman and member of various SEBI and RBI committees, and is a member of committees at various chambers of commerce, including CII, FICCI, BCCI, and IMC. He is currently a member of Mutual Fund Advisory Committee of SEBI and chairman of Working Group on Proxy Advisors of SEBI. Friends, can we have a very warm welcome to Sandeep Parekh on the chat box? Come on, everybody! If you can welcome Sandeep on the chat box. Sandeep,
thank you so much.
Welcome once again. And then we have 3 gentlemen who are, our very familiar faces in the network FP community and financial advisor community. So I'll keep the intros a little short with their permission. Okay. We have Mr. Lovaii Navlakhi, who is, who runs one of the finest wealth management firms in India, International Money Matters. One of the first, he is from the first batch of CFP certificates and won many of the awards. I mean, it's like almost every award which is there, which happens, it's one between Lovaii, Vishal, and few others. So that's the quality of Lovaii and his firm. And he is also the chairman of ARIA, Association of Registered Investment Advisors. Along with Lovaii, Suresh, Harshungta, Vishal have been have been contributing to grow the community of RIA and fee-only financial advisors, right? Then we have Mr. Dhruv Mehta. Dhruv Mehta is, we all know him as the topmost IFA in India, independent financial advisor or distributor, whatever you want to call it now. And more than that, he has been, we recognize him as being the torchbearer of financial advisors, having founded and led FIFA, which has done so much good for the community of mutual fund distributors and IFAs. So that's Mr. Dhruv Mehta. And then we have our own Mr. Amit Trivedi. Almost, every alternate week, you can see Amit Trivedi either on our articles or on our, sessions, but has contributed like immensely, author of 4 books, done over thousands of trainings, addressed over lakhs of people. And his latest book, Invest Stories, anecdotes from the financial world. Congratulations, Amit, for that.
Thanks.
So we all know Amit. So can we all, with a very, very big round of applause, welcome Dhruv, Lovaii, and Amit, please.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So before I leave the panel, okay, okay, everybody, welcome all. What's the topmost question on your mind? We'll get into the questions, but I want you to, let's get into this panel with what's your topmost question except for nomenclature. That's over and out. I think, we have discussed enough about nomenclature stuff. What's the topmost question on your mind? If you can put it on chat box. And with that, Amit, I hand it over to you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Sadiq, for this warm welcome and a very rousing, talk on a day when we are here to discuss about an issue which is the burning topic, RIA regulations and what are the impacts on RIAs and MFDs. So let me welcome all the three panelists and thank you so much. It's really a privilege to be moderating a panel consisting of the three of you. So let me start with Sandeep Bhai. Sandeep Bhai, I'm going to put a lot of tough questions to you simply because I mean, it's very rarely that somebody gets a chance to grill a top lawyer in front of more than 400 people. So I'm going to take that opportunity. And though Sadiq mentioned that nomenclature is something that has been discussed a lot, let me start with the nomenclature question first. Because you are a securities lawyer, you've been with SEBI earlier. So let me just get one question out of the way first. Has SEBI authorized any institution, organization, or entity like MFI, ARIA, FIFA, CAMS, or this panel to approve or disapprove which names are allowed?
Not really. So I think it's something which is really left to specific. Each entity will have to take a call. Any of these entities can set up some kind of benchmark norms, so to speak, best practices. So there's absolutely no harm in doing that unless these entities, these groups take a very, very aggressive stand. I think then there may be an issue. But otherwise, if you take commonsensical views, I think it can help protect the entire body of people to say that, okay, synonyms of the following phrases, including the following, would not be permitted at all. Right. And, make a blacklist, make a whitelist and say that, between the two, there'll be a lot of combinations of gray and you'll ultimately, for the gray, people will have to take calls. And I don't think a body like FIFA or any of the other bodies would want to take such a call in the gray areas. I think they can easily take for both the black and the white. So, I mean, that's kind of the top level comment on name change. I know it's troubling a lot of people.
Absolutely.
It has, because, changing the name of the entity also, you take away the intellectual property you built over 10, 20 years.
Yes.
So it's, I think it's not just, it's not like Shakespeare said, what's in a name. There's a lot which is attached to the name.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this very direct answer to this question, because a lot of people have asked, can I ask somebody who can tell me which name should I go with? So that's why I said, let's get this question out of the way. But let me come to Dhruv. Good morning, Dhruv. Just taking a clue from what Mr. Sandeep Parekh mentioned. Is FIFA in the process of creating some sort of a list where at least a few names, black or white, wherever it's possible, can be listed out for the mutual fund distributors?
Yeah, we are in the process of doing that. Yeah. And I think whatever feedback we got from AMFI was that AMFI was right now also not in a position that if everybody was to approach AMFI for a name approval, maybe they were not geared up for that, nor might SEBI have been. So I think one is that we are trying to request AMFI to get some sort of guidance on a few names. Okay. SEBI might be quickly able to approve few names which, generic names which the MFDs can use. And beyond that, what we are trying to do is that take legal counsel also, because I think finally what the words used are, if there are some 5 or 6 names which cannot be used, that's very clear, and similar names. So obviously, it's a matter of, it will become a matter of interpretation.
True.
I might interpret, you might not agree with it. And finally, what SEBI would agree. So I think we are trying to take some sort of a legal counsel. And I think what Sandeep said, I think something is very white, something will be very black. And I think if I would say that if each one of us applies our common sense, then I think the issue becomes very simple.
Yeah.
The problem is the attachment with the name, and I think that's the problem. It's an emotional problem.
Right.
We all are attached to our names. I mean, my name is Dhruv Mehta. Tomorrow, if the regulator was to come and say, Yusuf Khan, I mean, I would be, my parents have given me this name.
Yeah.
Does it give somebody a right to change it? So that's the emotional context.
Agreed.
I mean, we have to overcome that. We are all attached with the name. Some of them might be for 20 years or 30 years or longer. And however, I think, as you say, one is to go and represent to the regulator.
Yeah.
With this thing. But I think today, as the regulations stand today, we need to take action.
Absolutely.
I think in all our representations, and Sandeep has guided us also in our earlier representations to SEBI, I think finally the view that we took is more important that both the models are allowed to coexist.
Perfect.
And finally, the regulation today allows an advisory model to exist. It also allows the mutual fund distribution model to exist. And from a mutual fund distribution perspective, I mean, this is the sort of pain that we have to go through.
Yeah.
There is a lot of anxiety and there is a lot of, as you say, the phone is not stopping ringing. And I think we just have to, it's like, get over it, Find in case where, say, somebody is using the name wealth manager or investment advisor and he's doing a mutual fund distribution.
Yeah.
The regulations say that you have to change.
Right.
And we have to find another name and move ahead.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this wonderful answer. I also know that FIFA has been doing some amazing work in guiding the people on wherever name change is required. What's the process? I think that's a fantastic step that FIFA has taken. A couple of points that I would just quickly summarize from what Dhruv mentioned, and these are very important points, is number one, while the various associations and bodies would be representing to SEBI or have already done that, at individual level, these are the regulations as of today, and we have to comply with those regulations. So let's keep two things very separate. One is complying with the regulation, and second is the representation to the regulator. And then that's beautifully brought out. And just taking the same question forward, you mentioned about the attachment to a particular name, Dhruv, and that's where somebody had asked the question sometime back that how do I position myself? I mean, MFD doesn't sound that powerful in front of a financial advisor. Now, my answer to the person was, it's about you. If you believe in what you are doing and you are doing a good job, yeah, I can understand the attachment, but I would like to hear your views on that.
No, see, if I was to speak for the IFA community as we knew it for now, and
yes, sir.
The whole question is that what for the last 40, 50 years has been known as an IFA community. Regulator says that you cannot call yourself IFA.
Yeah.
You cannot call yourself also as an IFA community. So I'm sure they have a reason. I think the first thing is that when consultation papers are done, and based on the consultation papers received, if SEBI forms a view, I think it is obligatory on their part to explain the rationale why they are doing this. Something which is in practice for the last, say, 30 or 40 years, when you want to overturn it, especially a thing like name. I mean, it is the quality of work that you do. It is not my name, it is the certification is important. If you are making an obligation that a distributor needs to have a certain qualification to do his work. A certification standard, a compliance standard.
Yeah.
But a thing like a change of name, what is the benefit of that? So if there could be a rationale, I think what I would understand is they might have a rationale that you want to distinguish an advisor and a distributor.
Yeah.
I think that rationale needs to be explained. Because today, as a population, you might have, 500 or 1,000 advisors, but you have 40 or 50,000 or maybe 80,000 individuals who are registered as mutual fund distributors. If you're bringing a regulation that you want to reserve the name for 500 people, you need to explain to the other 80,000 people what is the rationale. You need to give them time. I think from the second consultation paper to the third consultation paper, I don't think the IFA community was consulted. We have given our representation, but we are not even called for a discussion. So I think that when regulations are made, the people who are going to be affected by the regulations, I think they definitely deserve to be heard. It's very unfortunate because we are in a democratic country, I think when you allow a consultation paper, you get feedback. And after that feedback, if you're making a judgment, and that is the practice which is followed globally. SEBI is part of IOSCO, and IOSCO, it's a global standard. That if you're making any change in regulation, you must communicate, have consultation, and after a consultation, you will not accept everything that the market players will tell you. It is the duty of SEBI to make its decision based on its best judgment of what is good for the market. If you're all fine with that. Right. But I think in case of a thing like name change, if there was a explanation given, the purpose behind it, it becomes easier for people to digest it. This is why, somebody is wanting to make a change. Today, the angst is that the whole IFA community are not able to understand. They're so much confused, they want to change. And whom does the regulation hit? The regulation hits the smallest guy. A guy in Sholapur, Sangli, he doesn't understand all the nuances.
But sir, actually, and I'm only playing the devil's advocate, sorry. But from the regulator's point of view, regulator says, I've come up with a regulation, and it is the duty of all the participants to understand and follow the regulation. Just playing a devil's advocate.
Correct. So if you see what has happened, IIFL, Wealth and Motilal Oswal and people like that have reacted very fast. They found a way out. Correct, because they have a battery of people to advise them. Maybe people like Sandeep, but a small IFA cannot afford these services. So what to do? So if you're a small person and if you're working as an individual, today if you are just coming with a regulation, these 6 names are not allowed. What about the thousands of other names? In fact, in FIFA, I'll give you an example. We have 3,000 members. Out of 3,000 members, 1,600 are using their individual names. That is, say, Dhruv, Mehta, Amit Trivedi. So there is no confusion for them. Yes. But the remaining 1,500 have adjectives. It could be investment, it could be money matters, it could be advisor, it could be consultant, it could be financial services. What do those 1,500 individuals do? They don't have the wherewithal every time to go to a legal person, take his opinion. And in this pandemic environment, people are not able to maybe move outside, you're doing your work. So I think any changing regulation needs to be explained. The regulator needs, especially for small people, small IFAs, they need to be explained the rationale, they need to be given time. Say, for example, 30th September is the time that the regulation is to come effective. I think a thing like a name change, how critical it is, that it needs to be done by 15th of October. And from a mutual fund perspective, it's on 23rd of September that AMFI sends out a circular to the whole community. The regulation has come how many days back?
Absolutely. It came in July, 3rd of
July. The body, the licensing body took so much time to come out with a circular. It has taken more than 3 months to come with a circular, but you want the IFA to act within 20 days.
No, I can understand that, angst. But then having said that, now that's the given situation. So let's focus on what can be done going forward So what kind of things, what kind of activities a mutual fund distributor can pursue in the given environment?
If you're asking me, I think the regulation as far as the activities of mutual fund distribution, I don't think there is any change. For a mutual fund distributor, you have to change the nomenclature if it is violating the current norms. And I think what the earlier regulation allowed a mutual fund distributor to have exemption from the RIA regulations and continue to give, incidental advice to his work, I think that has not changed.
Right.
I think life for a mutual fund distributor will continue as it was earlier.
Wonderful, thanks. So yeah, I think that's an important point, that the name part is where the MF distributors have got the biggest hit. But other than that, the work that you all were doing, that there's no change in that work prior to July. Whatever way you are working, that is still allowed. That part there is no change. So to that extent, I think it's a good thing that you can continue to work. Yes, this came as a major, jolt. A bolt out of the blue, unexpected. But other than that, as far as work is concerned, as Dhruv said, that part is not changed. So thank you so much. Let me come to Lovaii now. Lovaii, for an investment advisor, the regulation is actually, the amendment is actually for the investment advisors. The fee structure is one of the areas of concern. So what are your comments on the fee structure as far as the IEs are concerned?
So if you want me to talk specifically on fee structure, I think that it is limiting, that you can choose only one of two options, because we do know that there are multiple fee options prevailing globally. We also know that actually the AUA option is not a progressive sort of method of charging fees, but that seems to be the one which will be most preferred, especially for those who are dealing with larger value clients, because the fixed fee has been capped to 1,25,000 for the year for all services. But the AUA fee has been kept a little more liberal at, in fact, very, very liberal at 2.5% of AUA. So yeah, that's my quick comment on the fees.
Okay, but what about the flat fee structure and not allowing, both the models together, flat as well as AUA?
Yeah, so like I said, I think that, there are a variety of different fee structures that prevail. And I think what possibly the understanding is that the advisor does certain set of activities, which is all investment driven. And therefore a large focus is on that AUA piece. Whereas we do know that as investment advisors, we do a lot more than just investment. So we are not so much, only concerned with, which mutual fund or which PMS or which AIF to invest.
Yeah.
We are also doing a plan. We are also evaluating risk and saying what insurance needs to be done. We are also helping in transfer of assets. We are looking at creation of will. So there's a variety of value adds that the customer gets when dealing with an RIA. And for that, the RIA and the customer were previously mutually agreeing what is a reasonable fee structure, and there was no sort of restriction. We do understand that, misuse of the RIA license by certain stock tip providers has resulted in SEBI wanting to put some caps. Because they have expressed that in a few cases when clients paid fee, when clients made an investment, the investment advisor turned around and said, oh, that was the fee. So the fee was something like 80% of the invested amount, and so on and so forth. They've spoken about such examples.
Right.
And I'm sure that that is the purpose with which they've drawn a boundary. Unfortunately, they've drawn a very wide boundary in the AUA. Right. And they've drawn a very tight boundary in the fixed fee. Yes. Yeah,
I agree. Sandeep, coming back to you on this particular point that I asked Lovaii also about the fees. Now, there is a segment of financial planners who write a plan for the clients, and then based on that plan, they help the clients execute the plans. Whereas on the other hand, in the broader definition of investment advisors, there are a whole host of entities who got registered and they are not doing planning service, and they are only offering advice on investments. And some of them, as Lovaii mentioned, are the stock tippers. Now, in such a case, these financial planners are actually feeling that there's a pressure as far as their revenues are concerned, simply because SEBI wanted to curb the practices of some of the others. I would like to hear your views on that, sir.
So I think you absolutely hit it on the head in terms of really what SEBI is trying to do is they're trying to reduce the scope of all the stock tipping kind of activity.
Yeah.
And in the process, they have really harmed the interests of the legitimate people in terms of not just the fees, but basically the entire structure. It's in a way, it's a shortcut for their enforcement actions, which they should have gone after and prosecuted those people.
Yeah.
Instead, but that's the nature of all laws, to be honest. The laws always hurt the honest person much more, because the crook will always find a second way to do what he or she is doing. So
I know.
I do understand and believe that yes, it does. It will certainly kind of harm honest people, but as I said, that's the nature of almost all laws.
That's fair. So thanks. Dhruv, this one particular question as far as the MFD's activities are concerned, and this pertains to the investor awareness and investor education programs. Even in the AMFI presentation, it talks about goal-based planning and then basic concepts of financial planning. Now, can an MFD actually go and talk about goal-based planning or financial planning in the IAPs, or and then somebody is actually gone to the stage of asking, can we do IAPs at all?
My reading is there is no prohibition or there is no restriction on doing investor awareness programs.
Yeah.
I think the regulator would welcome anybody doing any investor awareness programs. So mutual fund distributor doing any investor awareness program, giving general advice to the large public at large. You might come on a TV channel and say market is high or low. It's a general sort of a thing. It's not to a particular client. Coming to goal planning, I think what mutual fund advisors are, ultimately what SEBI is trying to distinguish is that you are selling products, you're distributing products. And in the process of your sale, what obligation is put on mutual fund distributor is that what you sell should be suitable and appropriate for the client.
Yes.
And therefore, I think in the light of that, whenever you want to recommend any product or you want to sell a product to a client, it is obligatory for every mutual fund distributor to ensure that the product is suitable and appropriate. Right. And in that context, you would have to understand, what are the client's needs, what is his current, sort of status, and what stage of life is he in, what risk he's capable. All those you need to factor, but all that you're doing is with a view to sell a product.
Right.
If I was to, as a mutual fund distributor, just say that my service is only financial planning, then that I think the regulator doesn't want you to do. If you want to call yourself a financial planner,
good point.
Correct? You are saying I'm going to just do goal planning for you.
Yeah.
Then they would want you to take a IA license.
Right. Very good point. So you are the goal planning or whatever you're doing, the suitability, as you rightly mentioned, is the incidental advice that a mutual fund distributor has to offer, right? If I've understood correctly.
Right.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. But if you just go and say that I am a goal planner, then SEBI says, then come and register as investment advisor, then you call yourself goal planner. Otherwise, as part of your distribution business, incidental to distribution business, if you find goal planning as the means of finding suitability, that's fine. Appropriateness,
Yeah, and I think Sandeep would be better able to.
So I'm actually going back to him now. Yes, Sandeep bhai. Have we understood correctly?
I don't have much to add to what Dhruv just said. So I completely agree.
Right.
Essentially, what is incidental and what is not incidental is, it's a subjective thing, really.
Yeah.
Number two, there's this August 2011 circular of SEBI says that, which makes it mandatory on distributors to do suitability checks.
Yes.
So some level of is not just prohibited; it's actually mandatory in a way.
Mandatory, huh?
So you need to do, your basic check. But at the same time, to kind of put yourself out as an advisor would be what would be prohibited. Incidental to selling, you can obviously do a suitability check, and obviously you don't want to sell, so-called high risk products to widows and orphans at the same.
Sure.
So certainly that level of detail has to be adhered to, and so I think I completely agree with what you said.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much. Lovaii, I'm now coming to you. Now, we talked about the fee structure. The second point is the collection of fees and the, the type of relationship that an investment advisor can have with the client. It says that you can collect upfront fees only to the extent of 2 quarters and not more than that. Secondly, it also says that you can't offer a sample service and without collecting fees and stuff like that. So now the question here is, does it mean that the advisory agreement must be at least 1 year, or can it be a short-term arrangement also? And if that, then in that case, how does one collect fees?
Yeah, so I think before I get into that part, I think based on what you were asking, Dhruv and Sandeep, just want to sort of highlight one thing, that we've spoken about a standard of suitability for the mutual fund distributors. We must understand that for the RIA, the standard is a fiduciary standard. And that is really saying that I'm going to act in the client's interest. That's not to say that the distributor may not be doing that. But the standard they need to adhere to is just say that this product is suitable, so give the product. It may, I don't know whether there is a responsibility there to say, oh, you have too much of this product already, don't take more of this product. I don't think that is a requirement in a suitability standard. That will come in the fiduciary standard. So that's number one. The second part is, now when you're thinking of it from that standpoint, I think a lot of things which are there in the regulation, which includes the agreement and the clauses, etc. My personal take is a huge benefit for the advisor himself. Because there's protection there. In fact, one of the clauses there says that, there will be a clause saying we are not responsible for market losses. And that's part of the agreement. Now, if SEBI was saying that, okay, no, let me get these advisors in trouble by putting this agreement, they would not have thought of this clause. So they have thought of this clause and put it there. They've also put in a clause saying, if you are not there, how will this transfer? Who else will manage after you? I think there's a lot of forward thinking in some of those aspects. Now, in terms of the agreement, so basically they're saying, if I am going to act in the client's interest, the client must be on the same page. There has to be an agreement that he believes that we are on the same page as he is. And therefore, he has to sign an agreement. And only after signing of agreement, I can collect a fee. Only after collecting a fee, I can provide advice, a service. And I don't think they've restricted and said that the agreement should be of 12 months. They've just said that if you are charging a particular fee, then any amendment to that structure. So if I'm charging fixed fee now, let's say on 7th of October, then only on 7th of October 21, I can change to AUA fee. But if I have a contract, let us say, and I say this work I'm doing for the next 2 months or 3 months, so that's my agreement, and I stop it, and maybe 2 months after that, after a gap, then I sign a fresh agreement. I don't know. I think that's a little gray area. If SEBI really gets into this, 12 months are not over, even though the client was not there. So I think we'll have to find ways and means around it. The way I look at overall regulation, and I think a point to what was being spoken earlier, that before this regulation came out, there was a working group constituted, there were enough representatives from each segment of the intermediary community. There were RIAs, there were platform providers, there was wealth managers from bank, there was individual distributor as part of the panel. And there was fairly detailed and I happened to be part of that panel, so I'm mentioning that. There were fairly detailed discussions on each of these topics, looking at what is the impact of this. Okay, if this impacts RIAs like this, how will it impact mutual fund distributors? How does it impact small mutual fund distributors?
Right.
Now, I mean, I'm not privy to, or I cannot share all the discussions there. And and typical, a regulator may not take all the suggestions that we make in completion. But I think they did look at all these aspects before arriving and saying, this is what you can do and you can't do. And the way I look at all regulation, therefore, is it's almost like saying, okay, yes, we are defining that we are playing a football game. We know we are in this stadium. Now it's a question of, the field. Do I do mini football or do I big football? That might change a little bit. So I think this is a stepping stone. I'm pretty certain there will be amendments to this over periods of time. As you mentioned, I think Sandeep mentioned or Amit mentioned, the crooks will find a way out. So then, there'll have to be further regulation. It'll impact some of the honest guys also as a result of that.
Amit, a quick note.
Yes, Sadiq.
10:40. We'll go on for another 10 minutes and then open up the Q&A with the audience.
So no, there are questions coming in from people in the Q&A, and I'm referring to some of those as well. Yeah.
Perfect.
So as we go, then thanks for this, Sadiq. Request to everybody, if there are questions, please type in the Q&A. I'm taking some of the questions from there. However, please don't ask any question about whether this name is allowed or not. Please don't ask. I'm going to skip that question. I'm not even going to ask the panelist. Okay, so let's not get into XYZ financial services, whether that be allowed. I'm not going to take that question.
So we'll go on for another 30 minutes till 11:50.
Sure. Thanks. Okay. So then, Sandeep, there's one question about POA, power of attorney not allowed in case of investment advisors. So some of the people were considering the wrap account products where they were taking POA from the clients, investment advisors. So now that is not allowed. Does it mean, or other any reason why a POA is not allowed in favor of an investment advisor? Are there any safety issues, legal issues?
So in my view, it was actually never allowed. Because that is really the delineating line between PMS and an investment advisor. Which is PMS person can touch the securities and the funds of the client, whereas an investment advisor cannot go beyond pure advice. So, even in the past, if people have done that, I don't think that it was strictly okay. And again, if you want to do all of that, if you want your manager to handle your funds and securities for you, you should be taking a PMS license. I think to me, it's always been a very clear line.
Great. So essentially, it's the difference between advice and management of the money. Yeah, great. Thanks. Because, people work a bit worried whether...
Conceptually also, if you look at the license, PMS is essentially 3 licenses. One is discretionary, second is non-discretionary, third is advisory. So the third advisory bit is actually, so to speak, it's a subset of investment advisor is a subset of PMS. Really.
Okay.
So if you want to do all 3, then you take the PMS license. If you only want to do IA, then PMS will be kind of, you will obviously be subject to much intrusive regulation. So it makes sense to be only registered as an IA. And then once you're ready to kind of handle funds and securities, you graduate to a PMS.
So a related question. So if somebody's got some firm has got a PMS license, then this firm need not register as an investment advisor, right? And they can use the word investment advisor in the name of the firm also.
I guess they could, yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. So there was somebody had put this question also. Now, this is a question for both Dhruv and Lovaii. If somebody were to set up a hybrid structure, which is MFD and RIA, or distribution of financial products and RIA both, what would be, what are the things that one should keep in mind? How should one go about it? Can I go to Dhruv first?
I think if you want to do both, I think what this regulation, I think the defining amendment is that you need to have a client segregation. One particular client can either be under the advisory mode, he cannot then be under distribution mode. And if you have a client under distribution, you cannot offer him advisory services. So I think what you really need to do is to distinguish one upfront your proposition. As if you are an MFD and you are setting up an RIA division, you have to be upfront with your clients and tell them these are two separate divisions. If you come in the distribution, it will be only through distribution. And if you come into advisory, it will be come. So your customer segmentation, who is going to be a fee-based, and your product segmentation, I think you need to be clear. What are the services you will offer to an advisory client? What are the services you offer? Those need to be very clearly demarcated in your mind, and you need to be upfront with the clients when you explain the proposition. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thanks. Lovaii?
Amit, according to me, this was allowed from the 2013 regulation itself, the RIA regulation.
Yes.
Especially if you were a non-individual. So if you are a company, which we are, so we are registered as an RIA and we do offer distribution services.
Yeah.
The way it was earlier was that you had to tell the client that, you are coming to me for advice. I'm charging you a fee and you're free to execute the advice wherever you wish. However, if you wish to execute it through our, execution department, then we need your permission to give information to that department about you, because there had to be a Chinese wall, and also disclose to them that there would be an earning of commission on those products that were distributed.
Right.
So this is what we have been practicing for a while, and since the last 2 years when SEBI permitted direct plans to be available, we have moved clients to direct plans. So more and more of the clients have moved into direct. New clients only went into direct, old ones as and when things sort of matured or got out of exit load, capital gains, they sort of moved out. I think now what the regulation is saying is that so I think to answer that question specifically, you will need to take a non-individual RIA license and say that you have two divisions, basically number one. And number two, you'll have to have this client-wise segregation where, family of client, etc. is defined. So the same client, you cannot be earning both fee and commission. So either I earn commission or I earn fee.
Okay, great. So Sandeep, now this last point of Lovaii I'm bringing to you because that's slightly, tricky. Where let's say somebody was running a hybrid model where the client was charged advisory fee, as well as the AUM was under the regular plan, and the firm was also earning commission, which was allowed before the client level segregation came in. Now SEBI is stopped that practice, and clients have to be given a choice whether to go for advisory or distribution. So what happens in that case? Suppose the client says, because of the exit load, taxes, etc., I don't want to shift from regular to direct plan.
No, so it's a very easy and happy answer, which is you can whatever has been sold should be continue to be kept, and the person who's now an advisor and who used to be a distributor can continue to indefinitely get the trail commission.
Okay,
there's no risk. So it's a very, and again this has come out from all the concept paper discussions in the past. So this position seems to be, SEBI seems to be quite comfortable with this. You may not be able to see it in the regulation itself, but I think it's a position which SEBI would be comfortable taking, because obviously it will hurt both the distributor and the client if such a position is taken. So
I think it's there in the circular, Sandeep. It says that the client will not be forced to liquidate or switch such
either circular or FAQ or somewhere. I forget exactly.
Circular.
So it's there in the circular that the client won't be forced to shift from regular to direct, but the circular is silent about what happens to the trail commission. So that's
is there somewhere either the FAQ or one of the discussion papers. I forget exactly where, but it's been, so and I'm quite sure that SEBI will also, if they've not yet put it in a circular, they will at some point put it in a circular. But as of now, there's absolutely no issue with respect to continuing your trail commissions for the past products sold, and there's certainly no question of selling.
Wonderful. So that's a great clarification, and it would be a relief to a lot of people. However, from my side, I would simply like to add, and everybody has talked about fiduciary responsibility, suitability, etc. And Network FP also keeps highlighting client first. My sense is don't misuse this provision. It's just there for the benefit of you and your client. So just be very careful and keep the client interest first in that case.
So Amit, let me add one thing to that.
Yes, please, sir.
That, for that same client, if tomorrow he's going to put in new funds, I certainly can't put it in the regular plan or in that same folio. So, I mean, at some stage that will certainly stop.
So essentially, which also can be extended to saying that if there are running SIPs, the SIPs also should be changed. That you discontinue the SIP in the regular plan and start afresh in direct plans. Right? That's absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, coming to a very contentious issue along with the change of name Dhruv, and over the years you've seen the TERs being brought down, and with that the trail commission also came down. Now the name of the MFD. So what do you see the future of mutual fund distribution business in India?
I mean, the future, Sadiq pointed out that there are some 7.2 crore families.
Yeah.
So what do you have to think? I mean, future, you have so many clients out there.
Right.
So, I don't know, if somebody has a doubt about this, then he should leave.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Very, very powerful answer. Very, very powerful answer. I think big round of applause for this answer, sir. Big round of applause. Lovaii, I don't want to come to you with the same question about the future of RIAs, but nevertheless, your views, please.
No, I think that, we have to understand that in a country like India, where personal finance education is not part of school and college system, and people therefore have to figure out, how to manage their finances, the need for having somebody at their side, whether you call him an MFD or a advisor, is always going to be there. And as Sadiq said, I keep thinking that, 10, 15 years ago, we had covered 1% of the people whom we needed to cover. Maybe now we are 3%. So we are fighting for this 3%. There is 97% waiting on the side. So I think the scope is tremendous. I think it is important actually to think of each one of us. When we started our businesses, we first said yes to anything and everything that came to us because we had time and we wanted to, get into that.
Right.
After some time, we started realizing that, for this now I better either recruit someone or outsource this activity to somebody else.
Yeah.
Then I realized, I should educate myself and keep myself up to speed. Otherwise, I'll not be able to provide quality.
Yeah.
And all this for a minute, ignoring that, somebody else might take this client away. That, of course, the threat is there. If somebody is, better is available, is offering a cheaper option, is offering something of greater value, then the client will want to sort of experiment and try to do that. So I think the RIAs are in a great position because you are the only sort of group or entity which is sitting in a fiduciary. And if you can demonstrate that you are actually acting in the client's interest, the amount of opportunity is huge. I keep asking, other RIAs, think of a profession where our earning is dependent on the money that we get to manage, right? Overall, it is ultimately that.
Yeah.
Now, how many such, intermediaries will tell the client, you have this money, please repay your loan because the markets are not good. We don't want the money.
Right.
So we are actually shunning away money and saying, go and fulfill some other goal of yours. Or no, you cannot take risk at this time. So put it in a product where I learn, let's say I was a distributor, I learn 0.2% per annum and not 1.5% per annum.
Right.
So that's what the RIA is able to bring forth to the table.
Right.
So according to me, the scope is tremendous. I know you've not yet covered one other contentious issue of 150 individual clients. I'm sure it's coming at some point.
Yes.
But that's the other one, which is hanging fire, I suppose.
Yeah. So now that you already mentioned that, why don't you come to that 150? Is that limit big, small? Is it a problem?
So, you know what? I mentioned this to Sadiq a few days ago when I was chatting with him, and I still don't remember the mutual fund name, which was, acquired by ING Vysya, which was an Australian-based firm, Omni something.
Yeah.
Right? And about 10, 12 years ago, I was doing one seminar with FPSB, and Sumit Ved was in that company at that time.
Optimics.
Sorry?
Optimics.
Optimics, right? So I asked him, his question to us was, how many clients can an individual handle? How many do you handle?
Right.
And we were struggling to say 50, 70, that sort of number. And he said in Australia, with the help of technology, 200 clients are handled by a single advisor. Okay, by an individual advisor, but with the help of technology. Right. The other thing we realized when we used to go for our FPA conferences to the US, etc., where they deal with a larger number, they talk to their client only once a year, and that too with appointment, and they come to their office. And we know what we do. Anytime the client calls, we pick up the phone. We might even stop the webinar and say, hang on, client is calling. So we do a lot for the client, and therefore the number that we can effectively deal with, if I was individual and offer fiduciary service, I think that's a very crucial point. There will be a limitation. Now, whether that limitation is 150 or 170 for somebody or 250 for somebody, I'm guessing it won't be significantly above that. It is not practical and possible. And therefore, I think SEBI has said that if you are single and you're trying to offer fiduciary service as an RIA to more than X number of people, which they've defined as 150, you won't be able to do it. So you better have a better setup, have the capital, have a team in place, maybe have the principal officer, etc., appointed, who will then be able to set a system in place and you be able to offer that. I think that's the logic. And I think if we understand it from that point of view, it doesn't feel as painful. 100% for all those who have more than 150 and are individual clients, it is painful. But I think the point is that as a community, which is sort of in a sunrise industry, all said and done, even if MFD has been there 20 years, RIA is there 7 years, we are still sunrise because the number of people we are impacting is very small yet. Right? We all have to look at beyond just what is good for us. We have to look at how will this set up as a process which will be effective for the community as a whole and the country as a whole. We don't want people coming in and saying, oh, all MFDs are bad, all RIAs are bad because they missold or they did something wrong or did something which was not in my interest. Right? I think that's my personal take on this. And people do say that, oh, you have been there for 15 years, 18 years, so you can say all of this. But I think I've been saying this right from day one. So, and I've struggled with this. It's not that it's been easy.
It's not. It's never been easy. Sandeep, there are a few rapid fire kind questions for you.
Before you ask rapid fire, I have a diametrically opposite viewpoint on this.
Please, wonderful.
Let me put that forward. So I don't believe, I think SEBI's gone completely wrong with two aspects. One is this 150 business and the second is net worth. And I've been, those of you familiar with my writing, I've been writing against net worth requirement for mutual funds.
So for
all of these guys, it makes no sense to have a 50 crore net worth for a mutual fund. Today, you can set up a mutual fund with a capital of 20 to 30 lakhs. And, you can set up an index fund, this thing with 3 employees and, just a computer system. You really, so the whole point of having net worth for any person who's actually just managing money, I think is absurd and should be done away with. It's just an entry barrier for existing players. Number two, this 150 thing, nobody's saying an individual can't hire other people. You can have a team of 5,000 people as an individual.
Absolutely.
Nobody's stopping you from doing that. So just creating a corporate setup, what are you achieving? What you're achieving is less responsibility. A company has limited liability, which means an individual, if an individual messes up, you can sell his house. So I think the whole fascination of corporatization, this started with brokers, if you remember.
Yes.
And so on and so forth, is actually going in the wrong direction. You can actually, if somebody does mischief, does something wrong, you can actually sell his house. Why would you want to take that away and say, no, we will have limited liability and, you can do mischief and, So I have a completely opposite viewpoint. And this, again, unfortunately, it's a very, very minority viewpoint. And
I think, Sandeep, that's a good point, that if you can employ, then that is certainly a way out. But I don't know what structure will it come in. So,
and if I have to add, if you look at the other professions, you have chartered accountants, you have lawyers, you have doctors. Do you tell a doctor that, boss, you can only 150 patients you have served karo, later आप hospital banao, company banao. I mean, there is nobody to tell them that sometimes, the regulations there is no application of mind. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but if Lovaii says a working committee was constituted, I mean, who has decided on this 150 number? I mean, why don't you share the logic? 150 कहाँ से आया? कोई सपने में से निकाला क्या? I mean, from the hat, somebody has taken out a number of 150. It's just ridiculous. But just because you're a regulator, nobody has the thing to come and oppose it. I mean, 125,000, कहाँ से number आया? Quite rational. If you say an expert committee was constituted, did the expert committee give that input to the regulator that 1,25,000 होना चाहिए? Obviously, somebody else has decided to go over and above the expert committee. I mean, 1,25,000, 150 in a country like India, 7.5 crore जनता है. आप बोलेंगे एक individual should serve only 150 people. मेरे को तो दिमाग में समझ में नहीं आता है. Maybe I think I don't understand, how.
Amit is getting ready for his rapid fire. I hope you have a gift hamper ready for us.
Gift hamper came on rapid fires now.
Yeah, gift hamper came on 3rd of July. So let's focus on that gift hamper. So the question number one is, if there is an RIA firm which is supposed to enter into agreement with all the clients, so is it only restricted to the advisory clients, or because the firm is an RIA firm, the agreement is required with distribution clients as well?
I have not applied my mind to it, but presumably for RIA clients.
Okay, thank you. Second, are there any areas where a mutual fund distributor can charge fees from the client? Or just not allowed?
There never was a restriction on that. You can charge a flat fee. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just that investment advisory fee is something that a mutual fund distributor cannot charge.
Correct.
Okay, so if there are any,
you cannot provide that service, therefore you cannot.
Yeah, you can't provide. So if there's something else, let's say there is a tax advisory, for example, a certified chartered accountant, maybe license is surrendered, but still a chartered accountant and offering tax related advice, and the fees is charged. So that's okay. Okay, it is not within the investment advisory. Thanks. Similarly, if there is an RIA, can an RIA, individual or a firm or whatever it is, earn commission from non-securities markets products?
Yes. So again, that's clear. Yes, which is I don't think many people appreciate that, but anything which is outside SEBI's domain, you can actually do both really.
Okay.
So both advice and distribution, because that's not SEBI's call to take really, to prohibit or restrict. So you can provide any service that you want outside of SEBI's domain. So whether it's pension, gold, real estate.
Wonderful. So that's absolute clarity. A lot of people were confused about this aspect as well. Then comes the fees part for the RIAs. Suppose the client comes in and says, I only want a financial plan, and the advisor does the plan and charges a flat fee for the plan. And later on, the client feels that I thought I could do it on my own, but now I need help, and comes back to the advisor. Can the advisor now charge AUA based fee, or will have to wait for a year?
No, so once you sign up with this thing, then obviously you have to wait. There's a 12-month cooling off period. So
yeah,
you're asking that you not yet charged him for that, but you want to change your mind. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that right now. It'll depend on what the words of the regulations are in terms of. But broadly, I mean, the idea is that once you charge under one scheme, then 12 months you can't charge.
You can't charge under another second.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So, so these were very, very sort of, we thought these were gray areas, and thanks for giving that clarity. Now, let me go back to go to Lovaii on this same point about fees. Internationally, there is a practice called hourly fees, or there is a practice called, one-time sort of, some of the people call it second opinion also. So that fee model is not allowed, if I understand correctly.
No, so hourly fee is not allowed. There is a flat fee that is mentioned, and the total fee that you can collect. So actually, no, I think they are saying that the total fee that you can collect in a fixed model is 1,25,000 rupees per annum.
So you can still charge hourly fee so long as in a year you don't cross that 125.
I would think so. Can read the thing once more. Been reading the same thing over and over again. Sometimes gets confusing.
Okay, fair. I can understand. Now, Dhruv and Lovaii, both of you are part of, large firms of your own, and there's a very large number of people who are operating in their individual capacity, small office, self, and a few staff members. Do you think that the future is going towards a large firm like yours, or can people continue to function comfortably in the small setups? So Lovaii, we'll start with you, and then I'll go to Dhruv.
See, I have always believed that I think there is space for all models in this country. So each and every model will exist. You might find somebody who says, I will only do Khar West and I will do these 3 complexes and that's it. And then that becomes specialist there. Somebody says, no, I want to go all over India. I want to go all over the world.
Yeah.
So you will have the combination. I think that this will possibly result in some opportunities of consolidation, some sort of getting together, because getting together might allow you to do certain things which you can't do individually as per the regulation today.
Yeah.
So you might have opportunities, I think do exist, where a larger, you can probably sort of be under a larger umbrella while holding your own umbrella sort of thing. So keep your independence, but take care of the typical concept that prevails internationally of broker-dealer. Say, this firm is going to take care of operations, regulation, etc., and you can go and get your clients and get business. I think that opportunity does exist.
Okay, great. Thanks. Dhruv?
Yeah, I think any business profession, I don't think you need to start as a corporate entity or be part of a large thing. That's the whole thing, whole idea of entrepreneurship. And in India, you see across professions, lawyers typically work as individuals. Then over time, they create a practice. As the practice grows, I think it is how you grow. If your work grows beyond your capacity as an individual to handle it, and then you recruit people or you recruit partners, then you collaborate. As your practice increases, and if there's a diversity of needs that you need to meet your clients, or the breadth of services that you need to offer, then you might look at complementary skills. You would look at coming together and collaborating with people. So I think it's a journey. But for people to start, I think there is no barrier for individuals to start. Any activity that you start on your own as an individual, there's a huge learning curve. One has to go through that learning curve. And I think I don't think there is any disadvantage for an individual. In fact, our businesses, our profession, I would say, the work that we do, a lot depends on the trust. And the faith that you develop with a client, and that is really very personal. Of course, there is a trust at a brand level, say like an HDFC Bank, customer just walks in because of the brand name. But as an individual also, you can create your own sort of relationship and the personal touch that you can bring.
Yes.
Which is, very different from an institutional framework. So I would say as Lovaii said, there is an opportunity for all formats, whether it is individual, corporate. And I think it's just the belief and the passion that, because the opportunity, what Sandeep mentioned, the opportunity is huge in a country like India. It's just huge. I mean, we need to look at the potential and the possibility. And yes, there are challenges. Any profession, any business has huge challenges. Scale, I think digital is a big challenge ahead for individuals. You need to adopt to that changing technology. I think it's difficult more at an individual level. In an institutional format, digitalization is easy. But at the same time, digital also enables, an individual to compete. Today, the knowledge that an individual today has in terms of research, which earlier maybe only corporates could have access.
Yes.
So, Google and all is, in a way, demolishing some of the barriers.
Yeah. True. And so that's the, very well put, both Lovaii and Dhruv. And I'm just taking a clue from one of the points that both mentioned, Sandeep, and I'm coming to you about joining hands or a tie-up or something. And what somebody has also asked this question, can a mutual fund distributor tie up with an RIA and source clients for the RIA and get commission from the RIA? Is that will that be allowed, or are there any restrictions to that?
No. So RIA cannot get any fees except from the client.
No. So MFD sources clients and RIA pays part of the fees to the MFD. Okay. RIA collects from the client.
So RIA pays to the distributor. If it's a fully disclosed, it's a fully disclosed basis, maybe.
So essentially what I'm saying is the distributor, the mutual fund distributor is only getting referral fee from the RIA. RIA is charging fees from the client. RIA is getting investments in the direct plans. So there is no commission involved from the mutual fund. It is just that the mutual fund distributor gets some commission for getting clients.
Yeah, so you kind of reverse the question. Normally, distributor cannot pay the RIA, but are you saying can the RIA
pay the distributor? Yeah.
Nothing in the regulation which stops it.
Yeah.
But in principle, it should be on a fully disclosed basis. So client should know that the advisor is actually paying some fee or some kind of commission or fee to the distributor. So my quick response would be that I don't think that this was envisaged at all. And it is not prohibited, but at the same time, to be cautious, it's best to disclose it to the client.
But Sandeep, the client is not losing out in this situation, right? The client is getting into an agreement with the RIA for this is the fee structure, etc. And to get that business, the RIA is going to somebody, whether it's team member and giving him, telling him go get business or.
No, as a lawyer, I'd want to be cautious in transactions. I'm just saying disclose it.
It should be. Yeah.
I'm not saying.
Agree.
Best to disclose it.
This is an important question, and I think many of them are having this. So basically, the distributors are distributing RIA's advice.
Yes.
As simple as that.
That's it. So, or put it this way, that Lovaii, for example, might be using a lot of marketing activity, doing a lot of marketing activities for acquisition of clients. And there is some expense incurred. Now you are putting a channel in place where somebody is also having an ARN and sourcing clients, and Lovai's firm would be paying this person. That's how I'm just putting. So one sort of a tie-up, and somebody put this question, so let me just share that. It's a beautiful question.
That's what I was meaning with small umbrella under big umbrella.
Yeah, absolutely. Then there are a couple of questions about the nature of incidental advice, Sandeep Bhai. So let's say somebody says that I'm a mutual fund distributor and helping my clients build a portfolio. I'm selling a certain number of schemes for building a portfolio that would help him accumulate money for retirement. So can I do the retirement cash flow, etc., and then go for the recommendation would that be allowed is question number one. And the question number two is, if I've done that detailed exercise, can I separately charge some fees on that? This is an MFD.
So I think the answer is yes to both, really. Distributor can certainly charge a fee to the client. There's no restriction. Never was. In terms of what is incidental, it's basically, English language and common sense. There's no real legal answer out there. But yes, I think broadly they can do what is necessary in the client's interest. And, a lot of it is also part of the appropriate advice or suitability, as we call it. So I don't see much of an issue with doing all of that analysis. And a lot of distributors today use, algorithmic or, computer-based analysis. You put in 40 or 50 variables, including age, this, that, etc. And then, they get an automated allocation. So I think that makes it, that's an even easier case to sell, to show that, I'm not even using my own individual brain. I'm just putting all this data into the system, and I'm getting an algorithmic answer to, what portion of your assets should be in which asset class, etc. So broadly, the answer is yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. No, there's another question again, Sandeep, for you. That there is an individual who was registered as an investment advisor with SEBI, but this person, can he or she be a director in a firm which is into distribution of financial products? So there's a company which is into distribution. Can this person, who is an individual RIA, be a director in that firm?
I don't think so. I'll look at the language again, but I don't think being a director would be an issue in terms of even though you're saying the director is only getting a sitting fee, is that what you're saying? Or
yeah. So
the director might even get some commission, right? So at the end of the year, there might be a commission involved. So I don't think that would be a good idea.
Okay, and so same applies to a partnership also, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So that gives good clarity on some of these questions. Okay, recently one person who's an ARN holder applied for IA registration, and SEBI said first you have to surrender your ARN and then only will process your application. So what happens to the old assets in such a case, Dhruv?
Come again, I missed that.
Sorry, there is an individual ARN holder who applied for registration as IA. And SEBI said, first you surrender your ARN and then only will process your application. So what happens to the assets in that case, the old assets?
No, I think now with the recent these amendments, I think the continuation of the legacy commission would be allowed.
No, so this letter came, this query from SEBI came after the regulations came in. So sometime towards the end of September, this came to this person. Now it is ridiculous because it is actually not in the interest of the client that the client continues in the regular plan. Client cannot be forced to go to direct plan, and this person doesn't get commission. So who would charge higher fee, of course, to compensate for the efforts.
So I think a representation would be required. I think this is.
Amit, somebody has mentioned on chat that they did not surrender their ARN code and got an IA license. So maybe it's a particular region or branch which has written this.
Okay.
So I think, if an undertaking, you must represent to the SEBI that given undertaking that I am stopping this, I need the ARN license to continue for getting the legacy assets, but no further business would be done in that license.
Correct.
So I think something like that, if an undertaking is given or something, I think you should be able to.
Perfect.
Amit, can I ask a question of Sandeep?
Of course,
it's a technical question.
Please, yeah.
So in the circular, Sandeep, they are saying IA shall, wherever available, advise direct plans, non-commission based of products only. Now, does this mean that if AIF does not have a direct plan, the IA can continue offering that AIF in the non-direct mode?
Yeah. You just read it out. It says that where available. certainly.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. So, Sandeep, there are two questions, and I'll read out one after the. Okay. So I'll read one, and then you can answer, and then I will go to the second question. As an RIA, is it correct to understand that pre-existing distribution agreements with succession planning or will-making service providers can continue as this product is outside SEBI purview?
Yes.
Okay,
Simple.
great. Thanks.
Anything outside SEBI's purview, the SEBI has no jurisdiction.
No jurisdiction.
And therefore, you can do.
Wonderful.
And you can provide both services, as I said before. You can provide for real estate, you can provide advice, you can provide distribution.
Wonderful. What happens to brokerage being received from existing, stockbroking client where the person was also sort of what they call AP, authorized person under a broker, and also is an RIA. Can we continue to receive the sub-brokerage?
No.
That's not allowed.
No, you can't receive any fee, and in fact, they've used the word implementation service. So anything, so this will be a big problem for the big banks and all. So I think FIA has written a letter to SEBI.
Okay.
As of now, no.
So because because a related point is in the mutual funds there are direct plan, in the PMS there are direct access options, but AIF doesn't have anything, stockbroking doesn't have any such thing, or even IPOs and NCD issuances don't have any such thing. No equivalent of direct plan. So in that case,
they will come, Amit.
Okay.
Regulator not going to go to sleep. They will come, don't worry.
Dhruv has inside information.
Call it inside information or optimism or full faith.
Whatever confusion we have and whatever queries we raise, finally it reaches SEBI and they clarify.
Universe conspires to send all the doubts to SEBI.
Yeah.
Sandeep, with this 150 clients limitation, is it at PAN level, or how is this 150 number to be looked at from the individual RIA's point of view?
No, so I think they've defined both who a client is and who the registered entity is. And the definition of relative for one, the first one is dependent relative. For the second is, if you see the regulation, it's quite clearly defined as to who the relative is, and what does dependent relative mean. Dependent relative is again defined in insider trading regulation, so you can see what that means really.
The insider trading regulation you meant, Okay. Your voice cut at that point in time. So just to repeat, it's also important to look at related regulations also while taking a view, and that's where the SEBI mutual fund regulations, the RIA regulations, prevention of fraudulent and unfair trade practice regulations, all these regulations have to be seen. So if we are in the business, we have got to understand those things, and that's where I think Dhruv's point was that it becomes very difficult for many small players in some of the smaller locations to go too much into detail. So absolutely very well taken the point.
We'll have to
yes, Sadiq.
Maybe one or two questions and we end it, sir.
Okay, so then let me just sum it up by asking one question to all three. Let's say, Dhruv, if you were to advise your younger self who decides to get into this business, what would be your advice to your younger self?
He's already very young.
No, I'm saying even younger. Okay.
You won't be of legal age then.
No, I would, as a younger self, if I was to start, I would start with both the options available, because I finally believe it is the customer who has to decide.
Yeah.
I strongly believe this whole thing about fiduciary cannot be brought in by regulation. Fiduciary is in the mind. So I think what is important is both the options, whether it is distribution or advisory. It is ultimately, I think the regulations have gone wrong in trying to define advice and distribution. I think what they need to control is whether fees or commission. And I feel as a service provider, I think it is the client, finally, the trust in the relationship is what is the mode of payment that he wants to offer. So I would, as a younger self, because when I started my career in profession in 2003, I actually wanted to start a fee-based service, but that option was not available. Right? And maybe at that time, if that option was available, I would have preferred to start with a fee-based, because my proposition to the client was, I will manage your money and what is the fee that you would pay on a percentage basis.
Yeah.
So if it depends on what you want. I mean, I would prefer to start, but looking at the market, what I've realized over time, and I've had discussions with some very senior, you call them industrialists, you call them politicians, when you make them aware of both the options, regular and direct, people choose differently.
Right.
Correct? Who are fully aware.
Yes.
I mean, some of them have been involved in the drafting of the securities regulations. Some of them have been involved in the finance ministry. People at that level who've been internationally aware of what's happening. In their personal investment decisions, I have found that some prefer fee, some prefer distribution.
Right.
In one of the conversations I had, the client said, Dhruv, why should I come into a regular plan? I don't want to enter into a negotiation with you as to what is the fee I should pay you. I don't know. Correct? So he prefers a regular plan. So I'm saying, I believe that all of us, if we put the client first, like as Lovaii said, fiduciary is putting the client first. What is it that the client wants? What is the type of service he wants? I would like to offer him both options.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, Lovaii, taking a clue from what Sandeep bhai mentioned about age, I would say, if you were to take in your next birth, if you were to decide what to become, because I can't go younger than what you are. So, what would be that advice to your younger self?
I think more of the same, really nothing different at all. I think I was very fortunate to enter this industry at the time I did. I was very fortunate to have opportunities early on to interact with people like Sadiq and, FPSB at that point in time. And I think keeping your mind open to understanding not just what is applicable or going on in India, but also around the globe, gives you a little bit of, I think, advance warning as to these are the areas where you can get, caught on the wrong side. So we have tried to remain ahead of the regulation, and that has helped. So as long as you were transparent even pre 2008 and 9 when entry load went, that this is the commission I'm earning. It was very easy to go to customers and saying this is gone. Now you'll have to pay us something else. So it was easy to do that. I think the only other wish I would have is that to younger self would be, I hope there were a lot more people who were educated about personal finance, and if possible, I'd like to make an impact to educate the school and college children on personal finance.
Super, wonderful. Sandeep bhai, as I promised you, the toughest questions would come to you, and the last one is the toughest one. If you had to start your investing journey, would you go with a mutual fund distributor or an investment advisor? I promise you it's going to be the toughest.
You want me to get lynched or what?
Between Lovaii and Dhruv, he has to choose.
Sandeep, we got the answer. When you said that, do you want me to get lynched? We got the answer.
No, sorry. So let me just on a serious note, given the regulatory environment on both the mutual fund side and the investment advisory side, if somebody were to start the business today, what are the things? 3 or 5 things that you think they should keep in mind?
No, so I think the regulatory arbitrage or the difference in regulations is very vast, and it's become much faster between distributors and RIAs now. And that's something which we've been saying for on behalf of FIFA as well to SEBI. There's only one country which has tried something similar, what SEBI was trying in the last concept paper, and thankfully they watered it down. is this will elitify investment advice hugely. And you will certainly have ultra HNIs who will use investment advice, who can afford Lovaii and other people. But most people can't really afford 50,000 rupees a year. If you have a SIP, for instance, of 500 rupees a month, are you going to pay, even if it's 10,000 rupees a year, it's a lot of money.
Yes.
So it will certainly elitify investment advice. So a lot of advice will continue to, thankfully, the investment advice incidental exemption has not gone away. So my view is even more advice is actually going to continue to come from distributors, which is a good thing. But the gap in terms of regulations is huge now. RIA are very, very deeply and very, very intrusively regulated, whereas distributors are still kind of left to AMFI certification, etc. So this gap will mean, I think there'll be business will be much tougher for RIAs in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thanks all of you. I mean, Dhruv, Lovaii, and Sandeep, all three of you were fantastic, wonderful interacting with you. You gave some absolutely direct answers, and that should help a lot of people take the decisions. You also showed that the future is bright in spite of the tight regulations. Simply because if you are doing good work, the size of the market is very, very vast. And to that extent, what Sadiq also keeps highlighting in various forums, I think it's an absolutely valid point. Number two, Sadiq's note also, which he once again circulated in the morning, and some of the aspects that he written in that note where fees can be charged outside of securities markets or commission products, etc. So that you may want to go through it all over again. A lot of clarifications are there. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sadiq.
All right. Thank you so much, Amit, Dhruv, Lovaii, and Sandeep. Wonderful panel. I think we covered a lot of ground in the last 1.5 hours. So friends, how did you all like this panel? On the chat box, was this useful? On the chat box, come on, everybody. Did you all like the panel? Super duper. Can we really thank all our panelists who took time out, and especially Sandeep Parekh, generally he doesn't give advice for free. He came up and he has actually given his time and expertise to all of us. So a very, very special thanks to Sandeep Parekh and to Dhruv, Mehta, Lovaii, Navlakhi, and Amit Trivedi. Come on, show some love, respect, and gratitude for all our panelists for having spared their time and expertise with all of us as a community.
Thank you so much for so many nice comments, and thanks of course, Sandeep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandeep.
Thanks,
Sandeep. And Sandeep, thank you so much. Really appreciate. Friends, before we end the session, quick few thoughts, okay? I want to end this panel on a very high note, and we get back to work, with full vigor and energy and clarity. So number one thing which I've understood is, a lot of you have a lot of questions, and there is not going to be 100% answers to all the questions for sure. Okay, so just live with it. Okay, including these 4 gentlemen, the wise gentlemen, and even the SEBI. I think nobody has the right, perfect 100% answer. So let's just start living with this uncertain world. Okay, that's number one. Second, as Dhruv has been mentioning again and again, the market is really very huge. Okay, I don't think it's time to discuss about models, nitty-gritties, this. I think we need to get over. I sincerely request all of you to just get out of many of the WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups. I sincerely, I mean it. Okay, except the network FP group. All right, I think there's just too much of discussions, and we are overthinking about what's happening, and instead of really focusing our energy on what's really required by our clients and us. Okay, so that's number second. And as Sandeep sir said, incidental advice is perfectly fine. Anything beyond SEBI's domain and purview is perfectly fine. Whether you're earning commissions, whether you're charging fees, is perfectly fine. And last but not the least, okay, I wanted to, I just take this out from Dhruv's we have been discussing about RIA approach. versus mutual fund approach or MFD approach. Okay, there's a third approach. Can you all guess what's that? Let's adopt a third approach. Okay, let's not get into this RIA versus MFD thing. What's the third approach?
Sadiq, actually, that's the only approach, not the third approach.
Absolutely, friends. How many of us really believe? Okay, and as Sandeep really said, the crooks will always find a way out, whether they are a MFD or they are RIA. What really matters is integrity, doing the right things when nobody's seeing us. Client first, delivering 4x to 10x value of whatever we are earning, either in the form of commissions or in the form of fees. Do you all agree with this? I want some answers on the chat box. Do you all agree with this? The client first, integrity, ethics is what really matters more than these models. Okay, so how many of you want to MFD versus RIA approach versus client first approach? How many of us want to adopt client first approach, the client first model? Type client first in the chat box. There are over 400 of you here. I want to see 400 comments coming in the chat box saying client first.
So Sadiq, it is 400 and multiplied by 150 per head. So those many clients first.
Don't restrict it. There are some non-corporate also, non-individuals also.
Non-individuals
More
also.
than 150.
All right. Okay, so friends, with that we end. Client first is all that matters. Client first approach is all that matters. Client first model is all that matters. Once again, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. And we wish, on behalf of all of us, we are really, gratitude to all the four of you for having spared your time. With that, friends, we end this. Thank you so much and wish you all the very best. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Bye, Dhruv. Bye, Amit.
Bye.
Bye.